A few years ago, before I worked at Chalice, I traveled on a mission trip with them to Haiti. One day, we'd been busily painting homes that Chalice had constructed, and a few others had gone off in a truck to visit some sponsored children. The painting team regrouped at a school for a late lunch. We ate our lunch and relaxed, but the visiting team still hadn't returned, and we had to wait for them before we got to go back to the paint sites. So we waited, and we waited, and we waited. It was getting later in the day, and we were starting to lose daylight, which not only meant an end to our day painting, but also made our trip back to our accommodations exponentially more treacherous. First I was getting antsy, then I was getting anxious. Finally, the visiting team arrived, and I just wanted to hurry them through their lunch so we could just get going. We were finally getting ready to go back to the trucks when a young Haitian boy ran into the schoolyard in obvious distress, with cuts on his elbows and knees. Somebody said, "Somebody get the first aid kit." And at that moment, I had two reactions. One, but that's our only first aid kit. We should ask the coordinator before we use it. And two, oh, come on, we don't have time. We sat for an hour while the nurse on our team knelt on hard concrete steps, methodically cleaning and bandaging the boy's wounds. In that time, our local site director, Sister Marilise, was able to find out that the boy's name was Franco. He had epilepsy and would therefore fall frequently, hence the cuts, and that he was chronically hungry. By the end of that mission trip, only a few days later, Franco was sponsored, his family had money to purchase food, and an urgency fund was established to help him get the treatment he needed. In a trip filled with profoundly meaningful stories, this topped them all. Everyone who was there was deeply moved by the grace of that chance encounter. Yes, by the time the nurse was finished, there was no more time for painting, and that went undone. Yes, we drove home in the dark. What had been my biggest sources of anxiety did come to pass. But God had used wasted time to make us all part of a miraculous intervention in a young boy's life. And on the way home, we saw the most stunning sunset I have ever seen. I thought of this story when I read the Gospel of Mark. In that moment, when Franco appeared in our midst, first, I was the Pharisees. I didn't want to act with immediate mercy. I wanted to be told what to do by a higher authority. Then I was the disciples, as they shooed away the parents ushering children to Jesus. I didn't have time for this. We had things to do and a very narrow window of time to do it. As the parents of the little children bringing them forward for blessings, the disciples are jealous of Jesus' time and can't tolerate it being wasted. He could be teaching or healing. Stop bothering him with your little kids. But Christ tells them to chill out. By giving his blessings to these children, he would be instilling in them a life of faith. Is that a waste of time? Hardly. In fact, in a few years' time, or even a few months' time, the disciples are going to need all the support of the faithful they can get. So it stands to reason that God, who created time and exists outside of time, cannot waste time. And if we are acting in Christ's service, our time can't be wasted either. Our time might be, shall we say, redistributed, or our priorities rearranged, usually not by our own volition, but never wasted. Perhaps he's keeping us in one place so we'll be there for the person who needs us, like Franco. Perhaps he's bringing on the darkness quickly to make sure we get to see the sunset.